The scream of tires ripped through the quiet countryside, a sharp, violent sound that didn't belong to the stillness of that narrow road. Gravel scattered like shrapnel as the black sedan swerved wildly, stopping just inches from a small figure frozen in the middle of the path. For a moment, time collapsed into silence, the kind that feels heavier than noise, until a man rushed forward, pulling his child back with trembling hands, his heart pounding like it might tear out of his chest. If you believe every story hides a lesson, take a moment to like, comment, share, and subscribe to Bright Kindness, because sometimes, the stories we almost miss are the ones that change us the most. She stepped out of the car slowly, her heels touching the dusty ground like she didn't quite belong there. Her world was glass towers, private jets, and boardrooms where silence meant power, not this sunlit village road where everything felt raw and unfiltered. Her breath was uneven, her chest rising and falling as she looked at the man holding his child. For the first time in years, she felt small. Not because of fear, but because she had come dangerously close to destroying something pure. He didn't shout. That was what unsettled her the most. His eyes held something deeper than anger, something tired, something protective, something that had seen too much already. His son clung to him, small fingers gripping his shirt like it was the only safe place left in the world. The man's life was simple, carved out of routine and sacrifice. Every morning began before sunrise, every night ended in exhaustion. There was no luxury in his world, only responsibility, only love. She tried to speak, but words felt useless. What could money fix in a moment like this? What could power undo? The next morning, the sky was heavy with clouds, thick and gray, as if the world itself was holding its breath. The river that ran just beyond the village had swollen overnight, its calm surface replaced by a restless, churning force. She had come there alone, drawn by something she couldn't explain, perhaps guilt, perhaps curiosity, or perhaps a quiet longing to feel something real again. The ground near the riverbank was slick, treacherous under her steps. She wasn't used to uneven paths or the way nature refused to be controlled. One wrong step was all it took. Her foot slipped, her balance shattered, and in an instant, the world tilted. The cold water swallowed her whole. Panic exploded inside her. The river wasn't gentle. It pulled, twisted, dragged her under like it had no intention of letting go. Her lungs burned as she fought against it, her mind racing with 1,000 unfinished thoughts. All her success, all her wealth, none of it mattered here. None of it could save her. Then, through the chaos, there was movement. He had seen it happen from a distance. Without hesitation, without thinking of consequences, he ran. His boots hit the ground hard, his breath sharp, his body moving on instinct alone. The moment he reached the river, he dove in. The water was unforgiving, but he pushed through it, cutting against the current with determination carved from years of struggle. He found her just as her strength began to fade, her movement slowing, her fight slipping away. Grabbing her, he held on tightly, refusing to let the river take her. It wasn't easy. The current fought them every second, dragging them sideways, threatening to pull them under again. But he didn't let go. He couldn't. Not after yesterday. Not after seeing how close everything had come to breaking. When they finally reached the shore, both of them collapsed onto the wet earth, gasping for air that felt sharper than before. She lay there, staring at the sky, her chest heaving, her body trembling, not just from the cold, but from something deeper. For the first time in her life, she had been completely powerless. And for the first time in a long time, he had felt something beyond survival. Days passed, but something had shifted between them, something quiet and unspoken. She began to see the world differently, not as something to control, but as something to understand. And he started to realize that even the strongest walls people build around themselves can crumble in a single moment. Before this story ends, take a second and tell me in the comments, what would you have done in his place? Because sometimes, the most important decisions aren't the ones we plan for, they're the ones we make without thinking. She returned to her world eventually, but not as the same person. The noise of wealth felt different now, emptier somehow. And he stayed where he was, in the quiet rhythm of his life, but with a memory that refused to fade. They didn't need to meet again for the story to matter. Because some people don't enter your life to stay, they enter it to remind you who you could be. If this story made you feel something, anything at all, don't scroll away silently. Like, share, and let your voice be heard.